Chris Carter here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Today, we talk about the Steelers' 32-13 win against the Raiders, how the run game got going, the defense came back, and did Justin Fields do enough to hold on to the QB1 job? All here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things on the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find the show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making us your first listen every day because we're your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play just $5. That's at PrizePicks. All right, everyone, it's a victory Monday here in Pittsburgh because the Pittsburgh Steelers have taken down the Las Vegas Raiders in what was not a close contest. It was close for a little bit, but the Steelers pulled away 32-13 with the win. Game looked a little shaky at first when the Steelers come out. They get a field goal. They give up a touchdown, but then the Steelers offense was able to turn it on. Their first time getting over 30 points this season with 32 points scored in this game. After the punt at the end of the first quarter, the Steelers' drives went field goal, punt, touchdown, field goal, touchdown, punt, touchdown, field goal. All in all, they had 3 punts on the day and 6 scoring drives. That's a pretty good mark to have. 4 field goals, so 3 touchdowns, so 7 scoring drives. That's a pretty good ratio for what the Steelers did. And what's also impressive is they did it without really doing too well on third downs, 4 of 13 on that mark. But I think a big thing that we have to look at here as far as the Steelers' success is what they did in the ground game to get things going. Lots of really hard running. They actually opened up space. I think one thing, even though the passing game didn't take off, I thought some of the first down passes, I counted at least, 9 first down passes in this game. I think to towards 16 first down runs or so. I thought that some of the passes, even though they didn't connect all the time, I thought that they were they at least forced the Raiders to honor a little bit more in the passing game. It slowed up those run blitzes like we've been talking about, and that allowed the Steelers' offensive line to kind of have a little bit more space to go out there and block, which allowed Najee Harris more space to run. He finished this game 14 carries, 106 yards, and a touchdown, averaging 7.6 yards per carry. Also caught 2 passes for 16 yards. Really good game from Najee Harris. Also put an exclamation point on his day with that 36-yard touchdown run where he left off his feet from the 5-yard line and got to the pylon. Heck of an athlete there in Najee Harris. And I think it kind of puts the exclamation point on what the Steelers have been trying to do most of this season, which is get the run game going, find a way to be able to pound teams and to hurt teams on the ground. They were able to make that happen. They got Jaylen Warren back in this game. He obviously didn't have a great game, 6 carries for 7 yards. So I think it was just bad situations. I really didn't see too many open lanes for him to take. But, hey, Najee Harris has had plenty of those games where it's not really on him, just like this one wasn't really on Jaylen Warren. But you look at what Najee Harris did. You also look at what Justin Fields did on the ground, 11 rushes for 59 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's your top 2 rushers right there, averaging over 5 and over 7 yards per carry. Pretty good stuff there from the Steelers. And it kind of set the tone in this game that allowed them to kind of do it. And also, Najee Harris and what he did in some of these runs, it wasn't just like he just broke up that 36-yarder. He also had, several runs over 10 yards, runs where he was just barreling through defenders. This is a guy who I've said, hey, just let him not get hit in the backfield 2 yards in the backfield before he can build up his momentum. And this guy is going to run through people. He's also going to make people miss at the second level. He did all of that in this game, and that opened so many other things up for the Steelers, because then the Raiders had to try to counter when the Steelers are going out wide. The Steelers have been throwing pitches all game. They even scored a touchdown on that pitch on the 36-yard run to Najee Harris. Then they set up another touchdown when Justin Fields faked the pitch one way, ran back on the other side, and basically ran a QB power. And in doing so, he was able to walk into the end zone because the Raiders kind of ran with the pitch play. Ultimately, you saw that run game come alive for the Steelers. Now, the pass game, Still an issue here. 14 of 24 for 145, not great. Also, Justin Fields got bailed out on an interception he threw when there was roughing the passer, and it was roughing the passer by the rule. The Steelers have been afflicted by the whole falling with the body weight on the quarterback play several times over since that rule was created. So for them to get it back, I think it's a little bit of karma coming back in the Steelers' way from over the years, but still, Justin Fields not great in passing. We'll get to that in a bit, but ultimately, I look at this offense and how it was able to move the ball. Now, there are certain guys that I think still need a lot of work. I think this pass protection still needs a lot of work. I think Broderick Jones still needs to clean a lot up. But I thought Zach Frazier was really strong in this game. I thought Ryan McCormick had a really good game. I have to go back and study the tape exactly, but I thought those guys, especially on the inside, were kicking a lot of butt. And Zach Frazier also went down late in the game with this injury, but with an ankle injury. But he said he wanted to come back out. I get the sense that if that's the case, it probably wasn't that bad, and he should be fine moving forward. Maybe miss a game. I think it was Ryan McCollum who came in for him, and honestly, I didn't see him really get blown off the ball too much in this game. I haven't watched the all 22 or zoomed in on anything just yet, but I got a really good impression from the Steelers' interior offensive line in this game, especially in the run game. But also not just those guys. And Najee Harris said this after the game. It wasn't just the offensive line; it was everyone involved. Pat Freiermuth threw some really good blocks. Darnell Washington got involved. Connor Hayward got involved. The receivers even blocked a good bit. The Steelers kind of committed to this run game. And when I say committed, I don't even mean they called a whole bunch of runs. Arthur Smith play calling. They committed as far as the physical effort from every single person on the field to say, hey, we're coming out here to punch you in the mouth. And they did that. And I thought that was a huge part of what this offense, if it clicks with the run game, it can do a lot more. Now, I still think this offense needs to click more in the pass game, and I think there were opportunities to do so in this game. Some of them weren't on Justin Fields. George Pickens dropped a touchdown in this game. Granted, that was more of like a padding on the points touchdown at the end of the game, but still, that would have put the Steelers over 30 points a lot sooner than they got it, and they would have been closer to 40 points in this game if he catches it. But he also dropped another pass in this game, and I thought there were other mistakes. There were certain pressures that kind of ruined the timing of certain plays. But I really think that the Steelers, when you look at how this game played out, if this running game can be something that they can carry forward with them, if this is something that's not going to be fading away for the Steelers, if this isn't just a one-time thing, if they can build off of this, I think this can be the start of the Steelers offense starting to figure things out. Not scoring 30 points every week, not dominating teams, and now all of a sudden they're a top 10 offense. But if they can get towards, like right now, they are averaging 20.7 points per game. That right now isn't amazing, but that's better than any of the past 3 years that they've in their points per game average by the end of the season. So if they can continue to improve and just get that closer and closer to 23 points, 24 points per game, then we're talking about the kind of Steelers team that can battle. And can battle with the top teams in the AFC. Right now, they're doing what they're supposed to. They're 4-2. They're competitive right now. They're tied with the Ravens as far as record in the AFC North, and they're in a good spot. But there's a big question looming this week, and it's definitely the quarterback situation. I will give you my take on how I think this is going to play out with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, looking closer at some of how Justin Fields played in this game. We'll do that, and of course, talk about that defense that returned to form against the Raiders. All next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, we'll remind you this show is brought to you by Hims. Guys, sometimes intimate moments happen spontaneously, and we always want to be ready so we can perform in the bedroom. Hims provides access to treatments that can help you stay hard and last longer, giving you that boost of confidence that you can be ready whenever the mood strikes. Hims is changing men's healthcare by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your own couch. Hims provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints and Viagra and Cialis, and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. Just answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon. hims.com/locked-on for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/locked-on. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products which are not approved or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Prices vary based on product and subscription plan. We're also brought to you by Hillsdale College. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it by scrolling through some mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourselves? Well, our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free online courses, including Constitution 101, Intro to Free Market Economics, The Great American Story, Rise and Fall of the Roman Republic, and so much more. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, and just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/locked-on to enroll. There's no cost, and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu to register. hillsdale.edu/locked-on. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter. Let's get into this quarterback discussion because the run game controlled the pace of the game and the defense was dominant, and I'll get into that. But let's talk about this quarterback situation because I don't think this is an easy answer. Now, for some people, it might be, but I think there's a lot of people who lean certain ways. And I say this because every week since the Steelers acquired Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, I have been told that I'm crazy if I lean one way or the other. And all I've done since the start of here is say, hey, we're being told Russell Wilson's QB1, so I'll believe that. But I think Justin Fields has the potential to be a franchise quarterback. You know, we're told this, we're told that, we're seeing throughout it. I noted, hey, Justin Fields is closing the gap in training camp. Hey, Justin Fields is looking better, but I think that Russell Wilson's still QB1. He was QB1 in the depth chart, but then he gets hurt and he doesn't get to play. And I note, hey, Justin Fields is playing well. I even said Justin Fields, I think, has earned a chance to kind of hold on to that spot for a little bit. But we saw the back-to-back losses, not all his fault, but certainly some misgivings there on his part where he made some mistakes and some chances that maybe you think if a quarterback could see the field better than Justin Fields has, maybe the Steelers offense could thrive just a bit more under the leadership of Russell Wilson. But with Russell Wilson back and healthy this week, just enough to at least be able to warm up and to be the number 2 quarterback, that put the Steelers in a position to say, okay, this might be the final week for Justin Fields to show you what he got. Now, if you look at the raw passing numbers, it's not what you want. 14 of 24 for 145, passer rating of 75.9. That's not doing much. And I will say, I haven't watched the all 22, but looking at just from the TV perspective, because I did not go to Vegas for this game, I was in Pittsburgh doing a lot. But looking at the perspective of the TV broadcast angles, there were guys open and there were passes that needed to be hit. Even passes that Justin Fields saw and was just inaccurate on. And I think those are passes that Russell Wilson sees faster and throws more accurately in those situations. However, I think it would do a disservice if we did not acknowledge, that is, how Justin Fields' legs changed this game. His ability to buy time on the run when the Steelers' pass rush is giving up pressure. His ability to get outside the pocket, look down the field, and throw some passes. But also his ability to just simply run the football when the lane is there. When the defensive pass rush vacates the middle part of the field and he can run for a big gain. He had his longest run of the game was 18 yards. He had 2 touchdowns runs in this game. That's a threat that forces defense to have to honor something, and it opens up other things. And if the Steelers can make that a consistent part of the offense with Najee Harris and eventually Jaylen Warren gets going again, then you have 3 rushing threats that you have to consistently worry about there. And oh, by the way, Cordell Patterson would be a third running threat you'd have to worry about later in the season when he gets healthy again. Again, that is a serious thing to consider. And again, I think that it's important. Yes, the passing numbers weren't great in this game, but I think it's important to remember that the Steelers offense was able to basically have a say in the pace of this game, which it did not against the Cowboys last week, as bad as they were on third downs. And even though they weren't great on third downs this week, I mean, again, you had 10 drives, 7 touchdowns, or 7 scoring drives, 3 punts, 3 touchdowns, and 4 field goals. That's a pretty good spot there. And another point here, by the way, the Steelers, 17 points off of turnovers in this game. 17 points off of turnovers. That is huge. Whether it was a block punt, fumble, interception, They got 0 points off of turnovers last week, I believe. And that, I think, is right there is a difference between losing a tight one to the Cowboys and blowing out the Raiders in this one. This game was practically over by the time they scored that fourth quarter touchdown with 8 minutes to go. It was kind of over, I thought, after they got the stop inside the goal line when TJ Watt forced his second fumble. We'll get to the defense in the next segment. So all that to say, like, Justin Fields was leading that offense. He was the guy that was he was the guy who was kind of pushing, leading the drives, making the plays, and he deserves credit for that. Now, at the same time, he also did not see the field nearly as well as I think he should have. And I think that's still a deficiency that he has. I think the Steelers offense requires a lot of timing for him. It's not as much instinct and feel and getting the ball out accurately. Sometimes it's kind of needing him to be on his first, second read, ball out type of situation. And that can be very limiting. And the Steelers, I think they want a quarterback who can see the field, take what's there. And again, I'll look at the all 22. But as I said last week, people said that Arthur Smith was not aggressive enough against the Cowboys. Oh, he was. There were open guys deep downfield in regularly designed plays that Justin Fields just wasn't seeing or was even missing. And I think that is certainly something that if this offense could get a quarterback who could just hit those on occasion, not on every play, not all the time, not be perfect passer rating type things, but just hit those deeper shots that Arthur Smith is designing, it's going to force defenses to have to honor that a lot more, which is going to open more opportunities up for Najee Harris and this run game. And you saw what happened when you got a little bit of space for Najee Harris to run in this game. Not only was he barreling through defenders, he was shaking guys out of their cleats pretty much. I think Justin Fields can still be the quarterback for the Steelers, but it's going to be up to the Steelers. What do they see in practice this week? Can Russell Wilson come in, see the field, distribute the football around better, quicker, faster than Justin Fields does? Or does Justin Fields' legs way higher, way more than that as far as the importance of what you want your offense to do? That's the decision the Steelers have to come to make. What do I think they should do? I have a hard time pulling from Fields after a 32-point game. Also, what's the message you send to your quarterback after he gets his first 30-plus point game on offense and you pull him? Like, what's the message that you're sending there to your quarterback if you do that there in that situation? I think that's a tough spot. I think that it's something you could still keep Russell Wilson around and healthy and ready to go if Justin Fields struggles mightily in some games. But I also think you have to you have to tip your cap to Justin Fields and being able to play in these situations. And right now, you've been needing a hot-handed quarterback. He wasn't a hot hand throwing the ball, but he was a hot hand in running the ball and making plays. I think that's something that Justin Fields can continue to do. And it'll be interesting because they got 2 home games next. They got both the New York teams, Jets and Giants, in back-to-back games at Acrisure Stadium. And it's going to be really interesting to see how those games play out. But if Justin Fields comes out in any of those and struggles, then I think you could pull him for Russell Wilson. But I think right now he just got you a 30-point game, and granted, he wasn't good at throwing the football, seeing the field, and making those plays. But he again, he was part of getting the job done, and his legs are just as much of a weapon as anything on the Steelers offense right now. And I think there's chances there. Now, I think there's also something to say too about this. I also think the Steelers skill players are a little bit better than people are giving them credit for. I think Calvin Austin, the more and more I look at him just away from the ball when he's not necessarily getting the football, he is running good routes to get open. And I think that's where I think Russell Wilson could come in and change things versus a Justin Fields, is that there's times that Calvin Austin's breaking open, Justin Fields isn't looking at him. Now, part of that is because sometimes he's dodging pressure and he's having to recheck his eyes and go and try to dodge the pressure and get lock back into the passing concept. But I think that there's plays to be had. I know everyone thinks the Steelers receivers stink, and listen, they're not a good unit by any means, but I think George Pickens certainly needs to still improve. He made one nice catch and then dropped another touchdown and dropped another pass on top of that. But I think Calvin Austin can be a playmaker. I think Pat Freiermuth can be a playmaker. I also think using Najee Harris more in the pass game would be smart, because I think that he can make a play. You can see that when all he needs is a head of steam and just not being hit in the backfield, and he is a problem That is where I think Russell Wilson could come in and be better than Justin Fields is right now. However, I also think Justin Fields is young, learning, and developing, and he's starting to pick up on some of the things that he needs to do better. Will he get to the place where you want him to be? I'm not sure yet. But right now, I think Justin Fields has put himself in the position where it's still a question for Russell Wilson, for if the Steelers should put in Russell Wilson. But I think it's a legitimate question and not a right away thing that the Steelers should just, hey, Justin, thanks for your services, but sit on the bench now for Russell Wilson. And who knows? They might do that. I'm not saying what they will do. I'm saying that in my book, I think when you get a 30-plus point performance from your quarterback, I think that you deserve. I think that he deserves another chance to go back out there and show what he's got moving forward. But we'll see what the Steelers do. We've talked all offense so far this show. I got to talk defense because that defense came out and kicked a lot of butt in this game. We'll talk about that next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter, your host here. Be right back. But first, I want to remind you the show is also brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch your winnings roll in. PrizePicks is the fun new daily fantasy game that everyone needs to start playing right now. PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with any injury insurance policy. Your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. Player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks keeps your lineup alive. And now on PrizePicks, you can win up to 100 times your money with as little as making 4 correct picks. PrizePicks includes NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, college sports, and so much more. Download the PrizePicks app or go to PrizePicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. Go to PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code LockedOnNFL and you'll get $50 instantly when you play just $5. That's a LockedOnNFL. Receive $50 bonus for just playing $5. That's at PrizePicks. Run your game. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. We continue our episode here discussing this 32-13 win the Steelers had over the Raiders. I got to talk about this defense. I know I talked all offense. With a 32-point performance, you don't see that too often. And I think if the offense hadn't put together the finishing touches on drives, if they hadn't finished the way they did in this game, you'd probably be looking at a 17-13 win and not feeling as confident. Like, well, that's what the Steelers normally do. So I think that's why I wanted to lead with that. But we cannot overlook what the defense did in this game. Yes, they gave up an opening touchdown drive, and that was disappointing. And the Raiders were able to hit their script, and that was pretty much that. But at the same time, the Steelers adjusted right after that and took everything away. You look at how, I went through those drives of, touchdown, field goal for the Steelers. The possessions for the Raiders after that touchdown, 3 and out, fumble, turnover on downs, blocked punt, fumble, interception. Then they finally got a touchdown, late in the fourth quarter when the game was practically over. To me right there, you look at the adjustments the Steelers made. They were able to get back to stuff in the run after that. This was more of a sign of what the Steelers could do. Now, again, the Raiders aren't some super team right now, but the Raiders also beat the Ravens this year. So you got to give them some credit for what they were able to do in this game. But they took away the run. They were able to get after the quarterback a little bit. Only had 1 sack in the game, but enough pressures that I think that caused the difference. And TJ Watt, what else can you say about that guy other than he is the best defensive player in the NFL? Doesn't get a sack because he's getting double teamed and triple teamed and chipped and all this other stuff. But he punches out 2 fumbles in crucial points. One, wiping away a scoring possession inside the red zone. Another, setting up a scoring drive for the Steelers on a short field. He just continues to be an elite player in this game. But I also thought other players really stepped up in this game. One in particular, and I want to go back and look at his film on this, but I thought Patrick Queen played a really good game. 13 tackles in this game, flying around the field, looking at being in the right spots. I think he really put together a solid performance. Deshaun Elliott also 6 tackles in this game. I thought he played really well. Landon Roberts, another really good player there. 5 tackles there. Cam Hayward, 4 tackles and a sack in this game, taking advantage of that. Beanie Bishop, even in this game, there was a wide receiver screen, or a tight end screen, where he blew it up at the line of scrimmage because he was jumping all over it. That reminded me very much of Mike Hilton and the way that he's played in this game. And I thought the defensive front in general was better. You saw more push. You saw better gap assignment. from gap assignment and gap integrity from the Steelers defensive line in the run game. I thought all of those things played well together in this game and allowed them to play off each other to be more of a complete defense in this contest. And I thought that was a huge part of what the Steelers needed to do to get back on track after giving up a touchdown, a game-winning touchdown, or game-losing touchdown drive in their sake against the Cowboys, and giving up, 27 points to the Colts the week before that. Games like this can help you reset, refocus, get back to playing the way that you want to play. They held the Raiders to 2 of 11 on third downs, much better than how they played against the Cowboys last week. But this is a chance for the Steelers to hit that reset button and now get ready for Aaron Rodgers next week, who's coming to town Sunday night. If they're able to do that and they're able to build off of that, and this defense plays like this while the offense is maybe not scoring 32 points, but scoring 24 points, getting around that range, this Steelers team can be very dangerous because they've shown you they can cover it around the field, they can stuff the run, they can rush the passer, they can be accountable. They've done all that several times over in this season, and I think that right now, when you're looking at where the Steelers defense is and where it can be, I think that they're still in that elite top upper echelon of the NFL. They're still getting the job done there. But can they be the number one defense at some point later this season? They were for like a week or two, and then that went away. I think this defense has that kind of potential, though, when you look at the linebackers, the edge rushers, the defensive linemen, and even the corners. Joey Porter Jr., I didn't think had his best game, but, again, he still was chipping in a big way. Donte Jackson had an interception, almost had another pick six in this game. And I see opportunities there for this Steelers defense to be a dominant unit as they were in this game. And it's funny because normally you don't get that kind of support from your offense in recent Steelers history when you get these kind of performances. But I do think it's refreshing for the Steelers to see a game where they control, not from start to finish, because again they had a little bit of worries there. But I thought especially once they got that late second half touchdown from Justin Fields running in, they go up 12-7. I thought that was a first sign of things kind of breaking open for the Steelers, but then eventually it would break open definitely when Najee Harris had his 36-yard run in the third quarter that went all the way for a touchdown. I really think that this defense, if they can play like this more often, be more accountable, I think against teams that want to throw it to the middle part of the field and want to dink and dunk you and try to find the soft spots of your zone. I saw times where the Steelers were able to kind of disguise things and kind of come back to it and try to fool Aiden O'Connell at some point. So again, I think the Steelers had a good offensive plan. I think that they had a good defensive plan, and that's what you get when you execute both on both sides of the ball. And I do think that this could be a sign that the defense is getting back to shape and what it's supposed to be, and not that the points they gave up in the Cowboys and the Colts game were the anomaly or weren't the anomaly, and that the rest of the season was the off thing. I think that now that this could be the thing, because again, you have four games, 4 wins, 4 dominant performances from TJ Watt and this defense, and you got 2 losses where that was something in question. But certainly right now, I think the Steelers have put themselves in a really good spot. The defense is playing very well again. The run game is awake. Still got to work on the pass game, but I think there's a lot of good things the Steelers can look at right now and say, hey, you're in a good place. Let's stay locked in. Let's stay focused. Let's get the job done, and let's finish this season strong. We'll see if they continue to do that as the season rolls along. We'll have our Stars and Skulls grades out tomorrow as I do my all-22 film review and get a look-see at all the things that happened in this game, and then we'll get you my thoughts on those grades for tomorrow's episode here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Carter Critiques. Read my work at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, post-gazette.com. Find me here on the Locked On Steelers podcast every day, Monday through Friday, breaking down your Pittsburgh Steelers right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Enjoy your Victory Monday, Steelers fans. I'll see you tomorrow with more on your Pittsburgh Steelers right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast.